Okay, I think we're running again. So we got 4 of each. Or is this a power plant? I guess I should just for this video. Yeah, we're doing deck tech of the Eldrazi deck, and then we're gonna go through and change the sideboard, and a couple main board spots need to be freed as well. So yeah, we have the lands. The rest of the lands are fairly small, so we have 3 ghost quarters. Ghost quarter, you can tap to add 1 to your mana pool, or tap sacrifice ghost quarter to destroy a land. And its controller searches for a basic land. So these are good in this deck. 3 mana, 2 mana, 2 mana at Tron, 2 mana for Eldrazi are all good, but they're also all just mana abilities. The ghost quarters are good offensively, of course. You can tap, destroy your ghost, sacrifice your ghost quarter, destroy any land, like a special land the opponent has, and then get a basic land. But also you can destroy your own lands, and this can be useful against like Blood Moon and things like this. Someone casts a Blood Moon, you can tap to destroy one of your lands, and get a Blood Moon out, or get a Wastes out, which are the other land, or the other 3 lands in the deck. And then you can pull out a Waste, and at least you have colorless, and not just a bunch of red. So that's our land base. That's 22 lands total, but that's enough. We don't really have much trouble finding anything else. It's all either low cost, and with the maps, this works fairly well. So next we have the maps. These would be another part of the core of the deck. Expedition maps. Cost 1 as an artifact. 2 tap sacrifice. Search for a land and put it in your hand. And so it isn't the most effective of land fetching devices, but at the same time it's not restricted to a basic land. So you can go fetch your Tron lands out pretty quickly with these. So let's pull out these 2 definitely stay in the deck as 4-offs. These are much of our early game. There's the Matter Reshaper for colorless 2. It's 3/2, and when it dies, you reveal the top card of your library. You can then put it onto the battlefield if its cost is 3 or less and it's a permanent. Otherwise, you put it in your hand. So it's a free card. For colorless 2, it normally comes out the second turn. Like an Eldrazi Temple and any Urza land will put it out the first turn or the second turn. So next we have the Thought-Knots here. It costs colorless 3, and when it enters the battlefield, target opponent reveals their hand, and choose a non-land card from it and exile it. And when it leaves the battlefield, target opponent draws a card. So these, aside from being a 4/4 body, they let you go to the opponent's hand, exile the card. And there is the slight disadvantage of the card draw, but it's not that big when you consider that this is coming out the second turn maybe, or third turn, depending on what you got out. The other interesting thing is that it's in multiplayer games. It when it leaves the battlefield, target opponent draws a card. That's not necessarily the person that that lost the land in their hand. So now we got. Let's go with a beater. These are one of our larger sources of damage, and so they will always keep 4 of these in here. It's a Reality Smasher, 5/5 trample haste for colorless 4, and whenever it becomes a target of spell or ability, or a spell an opponent controls counter a spell unless its controller discards a card. So this can keep us off. It gives a little bit of evasion, and the haste, of course, really aiding that as well. So you can spring quite a bit of damage out. Okay, the other hitters in here we got 2 steel Hellkites. It's for 6 to 5/5 flying. It gets +1/+0 till on the turn for 2, or you can destroy each non-land permanent with converted mana cost of X, where a controller was dealt damage, or whose controller was dealt damage by the Hellkite. So with the flying, you can normally get around. You can get around some things, and the idea is that any of the. You can pay X, so anything, but it really helps clean up these smaller 0 mana, 1 mana, 2 mana artifacts and things like this, or enchantments the deck isn't necessarily targeting besides that. Then we have 3 Endbringers. The Endbringer is colorless 5 for a 5/5. It untaps during each other player's untap step, so you could use it each turn. You tap to do damage to a creature or player. Colorless tap to target creature can't attack or block this turn. And colorless to draw a card. So theoretically, you could be drawing a card on my turn and your opponent's turn, my turn and your opponent's turn. Okay, then there's a 4th Endbringer. And then, so, the 2 fun ones that I do get confused between the 2 because I don't. Yeah, so this is Ulamog and Kozilek. Kozilek. Yeah, so Kozilek does the it has menace. Man, I'm gonna have to look these up again. Like every time I play him, this is how much I play the deck, you know. Kozilek the Great Distortion. When you cast it, if you have fewer than 7 cards in your hand, draw cards up until you have 7. It's menace, and then you can discard a card from your hand to counter another card that has the same casting cost. And then Ulamog here is the other one. This is. Well, they're both 10/10, or 12/12 and 10/10, of course. And then Ulamog, when it comes into play, you can exile 2 target permanents. It's indestructible. And when it attacks, defending player takes top 20 cards of the library and exile them. So, if when they come up, they're generally castable, and they can be dealt with, but of course, they need to be dealt with. Okay, and then we got 4 dismembers. This is just a removal for 4 life and a 1 colorless. Let me leverage black a little bit here. Okay, two warping whales. I like them because they're multi-mode. They're a little bit of colorless countering. They're colorless 1. Choose 1. Exile target creature or with power or toughness 1 or less. Counter target sorcery. Or put a 1/1 Eldrazi creature into the battlefield that has sacrifice to add colorless. I've even used a third. This is an instant. I've used the third at the end of an opponent's turn just to get the creature, just to sacrifice it the next turn. Like if I only had 2 lands and drawing into a Matter Shaper or something. It's desperate times, but... Okay, so there's 3 Mirage Mirrors in here. And needless to say, they're unproven. I quite like them, but I don't know if they're... I like them in the deck, but I don't know if the balance, like maybe we only need 2. They're kind of the maybes in the deck. And we have 2 Walking Ballistas. Walking Ballista is amazing. XX, it enters the battlefield with X 1/1 counters on it. For 4, you can put 1 on. And you just remove them to do damage. So if someone would kill it, you can take all the damage, put them out. You always have just piles of mana, so you have somewhere to put all of that extra Tron mana. You can put it into the ballistas and just make these things big. So, big removal. 2, all is dust. And exile all colored permanents. So sometimes the opponent will get away with like having an artifact or an artifact creature or something, but it's a pretty massive game changer if it resolves. Of course, none of your stuff's effective. And then Chalice of the Void. This card will go up to 4 for the deck. It costs XX, enters the battlefield with X charge counters on it, and whenever a player casts a spell with converted mana cost equal to the number of charge counters on it, it's countered. So this can be really good at, especially at 1 and 2, versus like really kind of like getting versus counters or like versus burn and really slowing down and not letting people play anything. Okay. So I guess we can do the land base first because it'll give us more space for the rest. The only change that I'm looking at is Vesuva, and Vesuva for a Ghost Quarter. And I think that the Ghost Quarter might be the better play, but when it comes down to it, it's about meta, kind of, right? Like if Ghost Quarter is the best at the highest level of play against another finely tuned deck, right? That doesn't mean it's the best at either any skill levels that either you play or other people play, but also if people are always building decks, and so you have to, or adapting to the normal, or to the decks that people around you play. There isn't that many, or rather there's a lot of decks with basic lands in them. And so for that reason, the Ghost Quarter isn't really always super useful. And in case, if I could get Vesuva comes into play tapped, which is kind of sad, but if I can get an extra tower, if I have everything, or an extra temple or something like this, I feel like that can be useful. And we can always keep the Ghost Quarter in the sideboard. So, I'll take Ghost Quarter out for Vesuva. This can be yeah. I can go there. So, really we have to look at these Chalice of the Voids go in the deck. And it's just a question of how and where. And then if they play, you know, if it turns out again like locally, if it's not that effective, then we can drop to 3 and we can move something else in. But so up to the top, I'll move all of the things that are absolutely not coming out of the deck. Okay, so that's a block. That's 20. And if we had 22 lands, then this block should be 18. What's that? 4, 8, 15, 16, 17. Oh, 18. Right. So, of late in play, the Endbringers, I feel like the Endbringers have not always been super useful. They're expensive in a way, or they tend to come at a time when they're not, when everything else is kind of competing for this same spot. Like the Hellkites sit at 6. I mean, you always have the X's of the Ballista and the Chalice. Again, the Magic Mirrors are amazing, but they have yet to kind of prove themselves. As well, it'd be kind of the time to look at these. So these are all the other cards that were in the extras list, not just changing. But for reasons I'll go over in a bit, I guess. I think these are all sideboard cards. Okay, so we basically have 2 Chalice of the Voids replacing a Magic Mirror and an Endbringer. The third one, I guess the Ready Cut is another Endbringer. I had also thought about shoving another Warping Whale in there, and I'm not sure about that. Like, if something like Dismember and Endbringer out, see, this is okay, this is where we're at. Sorry, the chat's a little slow because I also wasn't reading up there, but yeah. Basically, it exiles all the other cards. I mean, the Dismembers, Dismembers can take out most of the things. Like, you have the life to spare. So for a single colorless, to give something -5/-5 will end it real quick. The other side, the other bonus of Warping Whale, especially versus like aggro, is the exiling creatures with power toughness of 1 or less. You know, like whatever, extreme examples, Ball Lightning, things like that, or a 6/6 taken down with Dismember. You know, there's these kind of ideas, and then the Spell Kite or the Hell Kite can get rid of some things, but of course, yeah, that's a little slower, and that's not stopping aggro at all. The ballistas early can take care of aggro pretty effectively, but again, that's because remember on the third turn you can have Tron, so you can have 7 mana on the third turn. But of course, you would need everything in that. So the other combo that this deck used to use, which I'm quite partial to, but not sure exactly about it. So I have a third Walking Ballista. And then we have a Basilisk Collar. Equipped creature has Death Touch, and Lifelink. So basically, if we attach that to the Walking Ballista, then you can do 1 damage, you can remove 1/1/1 counter and kill anything because of Death Touch and gain life, I guess. And so it's good, but also the Basilisk Collar can also be good, throw it on, you start to throw it on these, the 5/5, like the Reality Smasher or something like this, and you can really make or come back if you've started falling behind. And that's basically what was in the deck before the Magic Mirrors. So I would imagine this to look a little more like that in that scenario. Which is not awful. That thinking about Batterskull, and I don't really know. So I think I cut the 2 Endbringers. I like having 4 at that spot. So I think I'll leave it out for now. But that's another possibility. It's quite a nice card. I love the Living Weapons stuff. But let's relegate that to the sideboard and take a look at how the deck looks. And I may regret removing that Dismember as well, because the removal's quite important, but that might be enough. Like when you consider the amount that is going to be stopped with the chalices, you really have to kind of start to rethink the other chunks of the deck, right? Like, what do you? Its use can overlap with, or make something else redundant, not just open, or not just the spot. Oops. Death Touch does apply when it's not combat damage. The only time, the important thing of Death Touch, like on here, we have Death Touch deals